hopefully they can all repeat as this man did last year. Omar Prewitt from William & Mary. His head coach is Tony Shaver, as we're back here on CAA Media Day here on ESPN3. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, thank you for having us.
14 years now, Tony. You now are the dean of CAA coaches. You realize that?
It's a little scary, isn't it? I'm a survivor, I guess, is all I can say. But been in a great place, and it's been a great time in my life, and happy to be going again this year.
Well, not just survive, but thrive. 3 straight 20-win seasons now at William & Mary. What has been the key in your mind for this sustained success? It is very tough to do in this conference.
Well, I think good players. You know, good players produce good things for you. We've worked hard to build our program over the course of time, and I think our expectations have changed too, Al. That's a big part of this growth, I think. I think our guys expect to win now, and 20-win seasons is exactly what they're after.
Well, speaking of good players, Omar Prewitt, last year a member of the CAA first team, all-conference team, averaging close to 18 points a game. Where have you seen your growth evolve as a player at William & Mary?
I think it's just getting a bigger role every single year. You know, I came in, had Marcus Thornton in here. Obviously, no one's taken his spot. And each year, my role on the team's just build a little more in a leadership role. We've had guys step up, and so obviously on the offensive end, it's stepped up. But I think coach is looking for a little more defensively from me this year.
What coach doesn't look for more defense, right? But Omar, you mentioned the name Marcus Thornton. He was a player who was drafted by the Boston Celtics of the NBA. We talk about talent, but we also see leadership. How have you guys evolved, and who's stepped up each year to kind of take that leadership role? And is this your year? Share it with Daniel Dixon. How does this work?
You know, we had a guy last year in Terry Tarpey who was just a tremendous leader. I mean, on and off the court. Never seen a guy work as hard as he did. And, you know, it's been great for me under him to learn from him and see him play every single day. And, you know, I think me and guys like me and Daniel and David Cohn, who are the leaders this year, team captains, have really just kind of taken from that. And we've really learned how to run this team.
Tony, Omar just mentioned a guy in Terry Tarpey who was tough to replace because there were so many guys when I worked with Blaine Taylor in the games just absolutely loved his game. But you have seen other players evolve. We mentioned Daniel Dixon. Omar just mentioned also David Cohn. You rarely have transfers come in, but David came in and fit right in immediately, didn't he?
He really has. He made great use of his year as a redshirt and really improved as a player. I think got in tune with how we like to play the game. It's rare to have a junior as a captain. We have 2 very good seniors in Omar and Daniel. We've talked to this group a lot about how to lead, you know, what leadership is all about. But David's our emotional leader on this team. He's the guy that's got a little fire in him, a little spark plug in him. And so all 3 of these guys will do a good job for us this year.
And if you haven't seen David Cohn play, the ankle breaker crossover is fun to watch. It's fun to broadcast, I know. You also were able to spot some of the younger players last year. Who are some of those young players, the freshmen and sophomores from last year, that you're counting on to have a bigger role this year?
Well, I think that's part of the growth of our program, that we have some guys ready to play right now. We lose 2 great competitors in Terry Tarpey and Sean Sheldon. But Greg Malinowski was a real key performer for us over the last 2 years, and in a sense played an apprenticeship behind Terry, and he's ready to play right now. He's a talented player. Jack Whitman's a redshirt junior that we think can step in the post and give us some really quality minutes. Connor Birchfield had a great season last year, led the nation in three-point field goal shooting, so ready to step in and play an increased role, we hope, this year. So right on down the list of guys that you know, have paid their dues a little bit, but ready to play.
How about a newcomer, Nathan Knight? Certainly brings you some size at 6 feet 9 inches tall.
You know, we have 2 new freshmen that we think both can impact our team this year. Nathan is a long player. I mean, he's 6'9", but extremely long in the post. Very skilled post player that we think has a chance to really impact our team this year. Justin Pierce, a 6'6" freshman out of right outside Chicago, very tough kid, very talented across the board. Versatility we love in our program, and both those guys have a chance. They're freshmen. We'll see what happens when the lights come on that first day, but both guys we like a great deal.
You know, we so often hear when we're broadcasting games, well, he's a coach's son. We can certainly say that about Omar Prewitt. But the coach we're talking about is your mom, who was a very successful all-SEC player at Kentucky and has been a very successful coach. What has her influence meant to you?
You know, growing up, I mean, it's been very nice to have a mother who has done it all, and even on a bigger scale than you have. So, you know, she's definitely coached my way through, but she's done a great job ever since I got to college. She's not a parent who budges in too much. She really just leaves it to Coach Shaver. So, but yeah, growing up, she did great.
Can you tell he's a coach's son?
Absolutely, and you know, he might think I'm hard on him sometimes, but I think his mom and dad might be even harder on him sometimes. No, it's a very supportive family. I mean, she's obviously a very talented player and coach in her own right, but and I think has done a great job of just giving some of that knowledge to Omar and letting him be himself.
Tony, before I let you both go, as I mentioned, you're starting your 14th season in Williamsburg. You've seen this conference truly evolve. What has stood out in your mind?
Well, I think the consistency of the conference. You know, I think 5 or 6 years ago when some teams left our league, there was a great discussion the league's going to collapse, and you know what's happened is it's risen. And then last year, you know, we were the 9th best conference in the country, the highest ever by the CAA. So there are a lot of good people, a lot of good teams, a lot of good coaches, a lot of administrators who want to see this league be successful. So the CAA is here to last.
Well, Tony, Omar, thank you very much for joining us today, and good luck in this upcoming season.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you for having us.